Welcome. This is my second shot because the first one I had so much energy for you that I wasn't pausing. I was just going and going and going. And I want to be more intentional in the way that I'm expressing this wisdom because it's so powerful that I want you to really hear what I'm saying. Leadership is everything. Every little thing in life requires leadership skills. And successful people have phenomenal leadership skills with themselves and with others. Now, leadership is not about being the strongest, the most intimidating, or the biggest person in the room. Physically speaking, the strongest, lead built person. These are all things of animalistic mindset of leadership. We're not living in that age anymore. So I don't know why we're still thinking of leadership in the sense of packs and wild animals. Like, yes, it's still like it has wisdom and information and knowledge and metaphors, but we're not in that age anymore. So even though that there can be some value to seeing things through that perspective of like an animalistic view on leadership, we're not in that age anymore. We're in the age of where our brains have evolved and we're very intelligent human beings. And so that means now leadership happens in the place of intellect. Leadership happens in the place of having discipline with your own energy levels, having discipline to keep your own word, having discipline with being able to have boundaries and limits and being able to express it in a way where you're not losing your center, in a way you're not going out of love. It's being able to stay in that frequency of love. Because when you leave that frequency of love, not only are you now not leading your own energy, you're just allowing your energy to just do whatever it's doing. You're not being conscious about yourself. You're kind of just going life on automatic and being like, okay, that thing really made me angry, so I'm going to react. Or that thing made me really scared, so I'm going to react. Instead of being like, okay, that thing made me scared. Is that actually truth? Is that actually something that's going to kill me? Is that actually something that's a threat? And just like taking a step back and analyzing, reflecting, what is it that I need to do to make myself feel safe? And then doing that thing and really allowing yourself to reflect and not act on impulses. It's an art form, and I want you to make mistakes. I want you to go out there, and I want you to allow yourself to expand and grow and learn. And I want you to come back even stronger and rise. That's the whole point, right? That's the whole point of leadership. I want you to come back even stronger and rise. I want you to see how powerful you truly are, and I want you to see how your progress is happening even when you don't think it's happening. Even when you think you're falling, you're still growing and you're still becoming a better version of yourself. That's exactly when you actually are becoming a stronger version of yourself. I have so much fire right now. When you're becoming a stronger version of yourself is when you're falling. It's like when you go to the gym, you become weaker to become stronger. When you go on a run, you go out of breath so that you can be more in breath when you're not running, right? So that you have more fitness. And your fitness allows you to breathe more without getting out of breath so easily. It's the paradox and the irony of life. When you feel like you're breaking apart, you're actually just rebuilding yourself even stronger. And that's the thing about leadership. It's being able to understand that it's not that you're seeking pain. It's not that you're seeking to like fall and make mistakes. It's that it's kind of part of the process for you. And it's not like I don't like the idea of like, the leadership of like, it's just about pain and grind and just like pushing through resistance and ignoring the pain and ignoring the fear and just doing it anyways. Because in truth, there's so much wisdom in the pain and there's so much wisdom in the fear that if you don't understand why you have that in the first place and you take action regardless, what you're essentially doing now is you're betraying your own internal guidance system that protects you from experiences that will be harmful or the experiences that will actually take you off course of your unique path. Because the thing is, we all are here for a unique purpose. We all have a path and a reason for existing. Not everyone has the same destiny, but whatever destiny you have, life will continuously push you towards it through people saying certain information that you need to hear in order to inspire you to action that you need to take for you to take the right path to fulfill your purpose. For example, essentially, I've always been led to leadership my whole entire life, and I've always like had experiences that have been like cycles where it's had consistently required, not even like asked, but required me to build myself stronger. And not everyone has this experience in life. Not everyone has these patterns. Not everyone has these cycles. They have different ones because their cycles are about their own destiny and they're about their own purpose. So when this is how you start to find what your reason for existing is, and also that's how you start to find your unique style of leadership, because one way of leading is not the only way. There is so many strategies to this leadership game we call life, but you need to have leadership skills because that's what life is about. Everything else, when it comes to like roles, like you go to the supermarket, you have people like working in tills and you think they have authority and they're like, they're working in this organization, they can tell you no about things. Yeah, sure, but ultimately they're still a human with a heart and a brain and energy and just like emotions just like you, and that's who they are primarily. The role is like a the way that I can describe it, and I think that people have got it so backwards because the programming society puts us in for a good reason, because that's what actually allows society to exist. But there is a programming that it happens, which is we stop seeing humans as humans and we start seeing them as roles, as if they were robots that just have to be the way that we expect them to be in their role, when in reality they're the human first and role is second. And that's where the heart and humanity and equal and love and compassion comes in, which allows there to be people showing up in their roles in an even better way and actually loving their jobs, and just like, oh my god, one person wins, everyone wins. It's a ripple effect. But essentially, when we start seeing humans as humans and not as their role, when we start seeing humans as humans and not as their role, what essentially happens is we're no longer missing the mark, because we're actually seeing that they're a reflection of our expectations and our beliefs of who they are. So they cannot actually show up in any other way because you're consistently manifesting the persons in your reality from your expectations of how you think they're going to show up. So if you expect them to be rude to you, you're going to be starting to attract people like that, etc., etc., etc. But this does not mean, and I want to say this with a very fine line, this does not mean that you're never going to encounter rude people if you just expect people to be good to you. That's like a given, right? It just means that you're going to, it's like the way that I see it is you have a vision and you attract that energy that you put out. And then life comes in and throws a few pebbles of things that aren't that vision that you've been asking for. And either you keep holding the frequency of what you want in order to be infused into that world, and that's a manifestation when you keep consistently, frequently vibrating that frequency, or you let the pebble kind of like take you off course and you start like vibrating into that vision and creating that frequency because you're frequently thinking about that thing. Now, this isn't about denial. This isn't about denying how you feel. This isn't about denying things that need to be done and solutions and actions that need to be taken. It's about you actually understanding. It's about you actually understanding that when you need to take a solution, when you need to take an action, it should come from a place of like aligned action. So that means, have I sat with my fears? Have I reflected? Do I still really know what I want, or am I just going out there without even preparing myself energetically? Am I just going out and having a communication, or am I going out into the world without having like worked on my frequency, on my vibration? Because the world that you step into when you walk out this door of your house is a reflection of your expectations and assumptions of what life is in that moment, because it's always changing as you're experiencing new experiences. So essentially, you are consistently creating every single thing in your reality, but that doesn't mean that other people aren't either too. We're all creators. We're all consistently creating our reality. And the way that it works is we live in a universe that there's no limits. There's only limits that we put into this universe. So we have bajillions of timelines. We have bajillions of timelines that we all are living in simultaneously. It's a multiverse. It's a multiverse. There's multiple universes. That means everyone's living in their own unique universe and everyone's having unique experience. You're never going to be able to experience what someone else experiences because you're not actually someone else. You can empathize, you can sympathize, but through their eyes, through their lens, they're seeing things the way that they're seeing. So that's a multiverse for you. Okay, so a multiverse is essentially meaning that there is a billion versions of you out there, more than a billion, just infinite versions of you, and in infinite universes, and every single human you know has interacted with every single version of them because they're all the same consciousness. So essentially, that's why we're all able to have exactly what we want and create the reality exactly that we want. And that's why there's an abundance in life. It's just literally there's nothing else but abundance in reality and experience in the universe. The universe goes on forever. It's an infinite reality. And so essentially, you are consistently able to get exactly what you want, and the only thing that stops you from having that is your fears, your doubts, your resistance, and your limiting beliefs. The only thing. If you work on that and you actually expect and assume that which you desire to be received, you would have it right now. That's literally the only thing that's stopping you. It's yourself. It's nothing external. It's nothing anyone else has said. Because if somebody has said something that has made you feel discouraged, it's a reflection of your already discouragement that you had inside of you. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been something that even created an emotional reaction if it wasn't actually something that you believed in within yourself to begin with. And so, essentially, that's the gift that we're constantly giving each other as reflections of the same consciousness. Is we're giving each other the gift that in reality is we're helping each other understand which part of us is not allowing us to receive our manifestations right now, which is through triggers, through fears, through doubts, and through also things that experiences that makes us feel strong emotions. So your biggest gift is these strong emotions, is these emotions that come up, because these emotions that come up are guiding you so much closer to your experience, your desired reality, that it's gonna blow your mind how easy and how quick it happens when you've shifted the belief that it isn't already something you can easily normally have. That's literally all you want to do is normalize the experience. You normalize the experience, it's happened. And it's easy, but it's also like it's like going on an adventure, right? Like where there's no path to it because it's never been created, it's never been lived before. It's a desire that's just been born within you. And it's like there's no one way to get there. There's a bajillion paths that you can get to your manifestation. There's a path of least resistance, and there's a path of a lot of resistance. And I've got a spirit, and so I don't always go for the path of least resistance. But essentially, there is just, I think of this of like a jungle, like a forest, and there's like a million paths that you can take. And essentially, you are creating the path in every step that you take through your beliefs, through your expectations, and through your assumption. And so your job is in each here and now moment to be conscious, and that's what being conscious means. That's what consciousness is. Being conscious of your thoughts, your emotions, and your energy. And it's an art form, it's a practice. And it's no one in life ever gets it perfect. No one. Because the consciousness is consistently expanding and learning what it wants and what it doesn't want. And that's the whole game of the experience. It's like a play of like, I want this, I don't want this. I want this, I don't want this. And it's what we've been playing at since we were babies. And we're always going to be playing with that since we die. And then we'll just do it again in another body, in another reflection, another version of ourselves. So essentially, that's the only thing about reality is I want this, I don't want this. I want this, I don't want this. And leadership is when you awaken to that truth, that your emotions are nothing but a guidance system to know you how warm and cold you are to that desired experience in reality. Because think about it. When you're playing these games, are like, oh, you're warm, you're cold, to finding the thing that you want or the thing the person wants to give you. It's always been these games that we played as childhood, these experiences has always been guiding us, always been guiding us in order to be able to create that desires that we desire. I am feeling a lot better now. I feel like, whew, I feel like I've just like expressed so much beautiful channel, such a beautiful energy coming through. And I think that whoever gets to listen to this is going to have a phenomenal transformation because that's what leadership is. You're kind of just guiding people and helping them with their own resistance and their own fears and their own doubts in whatever strategy works, and learning like what works and what doesn't along the way through leadership by making mistakes and then like adapting, reflecting, and helping other people get what they want and what they don't want, and vice versa for the infinity of our lives. That is literally all we're doing. And that's why feeling alive and having a purpose is the whole point, right? Like everyone has a purpose and something that makes them feel alive and makes them feel inspired. And when you are in the game of leadership, which we all are because we're all playing leadership, like I mentioned in the beginning, it's all about leading yourself towards what you want from point A to point B by dealing with the resistance and fears and doubts. That's when you realize actually the journey is the fun bit because it never ends. Like there's no end to like, oh, okay, I don't want anything anymore. I'm fulfilled, I am rich and famous, and now I'm done. No, it's like something else is gonna come up because that's the point. That's the point. That's literally the point. The point is to just want and want and want. And so wanting it shouldn't be something that ever puts you like back to actually going towards your desires. Oh, I want this thing, I don't think I can have it. Well, first of all, scrap that. You want it, it means you can have it, because you wouldn't want it if you couldn't have it. Like you just wouldn't even have the desire if it in some multiverse it didn't already exist. And so essentially it's just this deep knowing that, like, okay, so that means everything that I desire wants me too. But oh my god, this is why this work is so much more like it's a mastery that I'm gonna do my whole life because I love it and it's my purpose. But essentially, it's so much deeper than just the words that I'm saying. And I know that it's important for people to like really do the work and take it in their own pace. Because if you try to just like jump into this like full face in and dive in the deep end and just being like, oh yeah, I get what she's saying, let me just like try and manifest all these things, you forget the nuances on the way. Like it's not like it's just there's so much nuances about like it's not just like we don't just live in this magical world where like oh you think of something and it just like shows up in your doorstep. We live in a world where there is like logic, where there is science, and there is also other skills that we need in order to actually thrive as a physical animal being. That's like the root chakra, the safety. The first thing that you need to focus on leadership is the feeling of safety. And then like the what was it, the Myers-Arco needs, the needs pyramid about like yes you have safety, then you have like self-esteem. I think you have to like build these up before you get to self-actualization. Self actualization is when you've actually created a space where the beginning needs are being met, and now you get to actually work on the bigger thing, which is self actualization, is when you're playing in these realms of like, you know, spirituality, advanced manifestation, and law of attraction. But if you forget that we're actually like, yes, we have the power to create these beautiful worlds, and like we have the power to create these beautiful realities and just like instant manifestation, but if you try to do that from the place of not having your safety and your self-esteem and your basic needs met, what essentially you're doing is you're ignoring the basic truth, which is undeniable, is that you're alive and you're human and you have needs and wants. And if you cannot fulfill these things and you're trying to go from 0 to 100 without actually taking the step of 20, 30, 40, 50, essentially you're not going to be able to make the jump. Because when you like think of a car, right, you don't go from 0 to 100 without building the numbers, building the momentum, and building the speed. So first of all, you have to like prove to yourself with evidence that you can build safety, you can build a space of safety, and then you have to build yourself, you can build a space of confidence, and then you have to learn how to move through the limiting beliefs and the resistance that's going to come up for your reflection. Every single time that you build a higher level of confidence in yourself, not only is going to people going to reflect the shift, they're going to change the way that they react to you. That's going to bring up things to you like, is are you actually feeling this in your body? Have you actually shifted? And that it's not even about the other person. The other person is just reflecting to you what's happening in within your being, what you believe about yourself, and what you believe you're worthy of. And so that's the only thing that's happening. So essentially, it's like it doesn't, the thing that you want, it's not that it doesn't matter, it's that the whole point is you only want that thing because that's what life is. It's the journey to the things that you want. And I've heard this a million times, but I kid you not, only now is it making deep sense in my being because it's the journey. It's the journey. It's the journey. And the journey is about being able to actually enjoy the experience. And enjoying the experience actually means to connect to the feelings that come up when it actually works out and build the momentum within it. So, for example, you are somebody who has always wanted to try a chocolate cake. I love this example. It's chocolate cake because I love chocolate. And you've always wanted to try a chocolate cake. You've always wanted to try a chocolate cake. You've always wanted to try a chocolate cake. So you buy this chocolate cake. And you have this, just like even thinking about buying this chocolate cake, you're on the way to like buying the chocolate cake, and there's this feeling of just like joy and energy coming in your body. Now you can think, oh, I can't feel this joy because I don't have the chocolate cake yet, so I can't give myself the joy of experiencing the appreciation of the thought of having this chocolate cake that I'm about to get. Okay, well, I can't feel it. I have to worry about the thing that I'm gonna do at 2 p.m. tonight in my afternoon. Well, scrap that. That's not the point of being alive. The point of being alive is to live your life, and to live your life is to experience the emotions that you have in the journey to what you desire, the emotions that you want to experience. So that's not about ignoring the ones that you don't want to, which is what I meant about nuances. It's like when you're learning this, you think, there's some traps that you fall into. You're like, okay, so I need to focus only on what I want so that I can create a life and live my life. So I'm never gonna feel sad again. No, like the sadness is beautiful, and when you start to see emotion as just energy, and you allow yourself to sit with these emotions, they give you so much wisdom and so much information and so much data. And this is the leadership mindset. The leadership mindset is you don't actually see this as something that's going against you. No one's going against you. No one's your enemy unless that you want that to be the case. Like no one is doing that. This is just a world of reflections, mirrors, smokes and mirrors, which everyone is experiencing. Literally everyone's experiencing a reflection of their own assumptions of the world. Even the people who are like acting all tough, these are the people who are experiencing the most reflections that are the most fearful. So they're experiencing the most fear in their being, because the energy that you put out is the energy that you will have return. What goes in must come out. What goes up must come down. We live in a world of like cause and effect. We live in a world where karma exists. And karma isn't about like, oh, you did something wrong. There's a right way to be. Karma is the vibration you put out, the vibration you receive. And there's an art form to this. It's not like you're a good or a bad person. That's why you're receiving that like karma. That's not how it works. There's no such thing as good and bad. There's just like things that we prefer and things that we don't. And that's like what karma is. Are you creating a karma of things that you prefer or things that you don't prefer? And that's the reality you're going to infuse yourself in. Are you creating the preferences and the desires, the things that light you up and inspire you? Are you living in a reality where you're just allowing yourself to just go with the flow? Because dead fish go with the flow. But you're not dead, you're alive. And so instead of like, oh, I feel sad, so I'm just gonna feel sad. No, don't surrender to what you don't prefer. Allow yourself to be with that emotion and experience it and go through it. Don't bypass it, don't bulldoze it, but allow yourself to know that you don't have to lie there. You don't have to exist there for eternity if you don't want to. You have the choice to shift in each moment. And that shift might not happen instantly, like building a muscle doesn't happen instantly. That's the point. This isn't about instant things, instant manifestation, because we're eternal beings living in a universe that has no limits. So why would we want to be able to have everything we want right now? Everything would be ending, like just as it began. And then there would be no reason and no journey and nothing. So there would be no reason for being in existence. So the whole reason of being in existence is all having diverse and contrast desires that allows there to be this dance of just having contrasting experiences. And this information is the essence of leadership. Leadership is being able to create what you desire, which is what we all are. We're leaders, we're creators, we're artists, we're at our core, we're constantly creating new things. And through that, there's collaboration. Through that, there's inspiration. Through that, there is like when you follow your bliss, when you follow your inspiration, you are giving an opportunity for someone else to experience that. Because like think of like the person who had the inspiration to create Wi-Fi. They've created the connection within billions of people in the world. Like maybe not billions, but I think it's yeah, actually maybe billions. So yeah, a lot of people. A lot of people. Jesus, Jesus, a lot of people. I think it's 7 billion. Okay, if that's the case, I am a little mind blown. I'm having a moment here with you guys. 7 billion people in the world. That's a lot of people. I know that I've always heard that, like, right? Like there's 7 billion people in the world, but like if you really think about that, it's a lot of people. A lot of reflections. That's a lot of opportunity. That's a lot of abundance. And so that just makes everything seem a little smaller, right? It also makes everything seem a lot more possible, because that's the thing. We live in a world where everything is possible. Even the word I am impossible exists. Like, I'm possible. So essentially, when you just allow yourself to just simply be who you were born to be without trying to be someone that you're not. For example, I've always been somebody who has a lot of energy. I've always been somebody who doesn't give an F about like what people think ever. But I was taught to care. I was taught to be quiet. I was taught to be somebody who was a little bit more like submissive or a follower, or like that's not what women do. Women aren't that strong. Women aren't these assertive. Blah 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 blah. Like excuses, and limiting beliefs. But that was my path, and that was like my existence. Like, we're all divine from the divine. We're all like streams of consciousness from God. Like, when God is the one and all consciousness that we all are expressions of. And so essentially that was my path. That's what like God wanted to experience as Scarlet. He wanted to experience these experiences that allows me to be able to have this wisdom, which is everything is connected. And the more that you heal your trauma and the more that you allow yourself to release limiting beliefs, the more you're able to look back into your life and see how every single experience and connection and relationship you've had has had a purpose in order to get you to where you are in this moment, in your purpose and in your destiny, which is everything that God wanted to experience through your character. So that's it. That's literally it. Everything God wanted to experience through your character. So just think of it like this. Your character development is you getting closer to your destiny. So every single thing that develops your character, whether it's good or bad, it just means that you're creating progress towards experiencing your destined experience and destined reality. That's it. That's actually it. So so it's not about, I'm going to go through this one last time and then I'm going to upload this. It is not about removing pain or just experiencing pleasure. I think so many people go into spirituality and are like, okay, I just have to enjoy my life and be appreciative and grateful and then I'm just going to receive everything that I want. No, it's not about that. It's not about just experiencing pleasure and then you just get everything that you want. It's about being able to understand the nuances and the purpose of pleasure and pain and towards how close is it progressing me to the thing that I desire. Am I warm or am I cold when I go towards this pleasure, towards the actual thing that I'm trying to create in my life? Or am I warmer when I go towards pain in this moment, and because it's allowing me to experience that what I actually want to desire in the big vision of things, right? So it's like not seeing pain and not seeing pleasure as bad, but just seeing it as a thing that is there to teach you. It's there to show you more about who you are, what you desire, what you want. It's like your guidance system. Like, oh, the stove is hot. I'm not going to put my hand on the stove. And I'm not going to just go with the flow of things and let my hand burn. That's like the purpose of pain. The pain is to just keep you on your path. And like, that's it. And so like, if you try to bulldoze your way out of like how you feel and ignore how you feel, and just like if you feel fear or if you feel anger and you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna be stoic and I'm gonna keep working and ignore how I feel and ignore my emotions and just keep going to the point where like you burn yourself out, to the point where like now you have a disease that you've just developed because you're not in ease. Your body has to be in ease for you to be able to continue to grow and evolve in a way that is natural. Because when you go against your natural expression, your natural truth, you're creating this ease, which creates things that you don't want. That's like basically where you are quite literally not in control of your own growth. And if you're not in control of your own growth, that is literally the definition of cancer, not being in control of your own growth. So that's not about growing too much. No, it's about not being in control of your own growth. And when you're not in control of your own growth is when you're bypassing and bulldozing how you actually feel in order to get a certain outcome. So you should never, ever, ever ignore your emotions. Because it's not that they're truth, they're not real, they're not always like a direct expression of what's happening in the environment. They can tell you lies, they can be distortions, illusions, fears, traumas, but emotions in their true essence are only messages of either who you are, what you desire, what you want, or what's happening in your environment, or it is simply a feeling of allowing yourself to experience pleasure in that moment and just having an enjoyment. For example, you have feelings when you have like a cup of yogurt, right? Like you have a good feeling. That's allowing you to interact with the experience that you're experiencing. Emotions are what gives colors and flavors to this experience. It's what makes this experience be alive. It's what gives this life. I think that I've just done a full circle. So glad. If you're watching this, well, then you are truly experiencing the most unfiltered version of myself right now. I have not like filtered any of this, and that's okay because that's how it felt like you wanted to come through. And I trust in divine expression and authenticity being the highest frequency there is, and love literally being really close to authenticity in the highest frequency. And the highest frequency is where magic happens. Like everything else, like when we're thinking about anger or hate or jealousy or things like competition or like hatred, things like that. That's low energy, low frequency. That's where you're living the hellish energy, which is the karma you're emitting in the life that you live. But when you are living that higher frequency, you're living in heaven on earth. So it's not about bypassing the lower energies. It's just about being able to work with them so that you can transmute, alchemize, learn the lessons, so that through the lessons you can create heaven on earth. It's like your shadow and is literally just compressed light that has a lot of wisdom. So just see it that way. Stop seeing it as like, oh, there's evil in the world and there's good in the world. No, there's just life. And life is sometimes intense and scary, and life is sometimes joyful and a smooth ride. Just like there's storms, and sometimes there's sunny weather, and sometimes there's like deserts where there's not even like water. So it's just like, just find your habitat and live in that frequency, and that's all you have to do. You do not have to be everything for everyone, and you do not have to change what you prefer to make other people happy with that who you want or what you are. That's literally it. Just be the quote unquote animal that you are, and then from that transcend into the spiritual aspect of you. And from that spiritual aspect of you, that's where life starts getting magical. But you have to first integrate the ego, which is the animal part of you that is all about survival and keeping yourself safe.